What's going on, everybody? Today on the show, I wanted to discuss this one's for my sellers. Selling during this pandemic, which, you know, prayers go out to everyone that's been affected. I can only imagine as everybody tries to buckle down and stay safe and stay quarantined. Please continue. And this is also just a reminder to myself, because I do know people that have tested positive. Um, Fortunately, nobody passed away, but this is something that we need to take serious. But at the same time, we also realize that the world has to continue to move somehow, some form, and people are still looking to sell because people are still looking to buy. So, for my sellers, the three things that selling in this market is a completely different operation, obviously because of the pandemic. So the three things that you need we'll go over, and this will make your process just so much smoother for you to be able to still capitalize on top dollar in the shortest amount of time possible. Listen, this is not a, normal 30-day close anymore. Things are a step behind, but at the same time, if done correctly, you'll be able to make it and get your home sold, take your profits, and go about your way. So here we go. Number one, identify the plan. Like, what's the plan? And what I mean by like, what's the plan is, what's your particular situation? Are you selling your home because you're purchasing a new home? Are you selling the home because you're in a situation and need to get out of that property ASAP? Did you inherit the property and now you can't afford the taxes, so now you're looking to sell it? What's your particular situation? Because that is going to be indicative of whether you're going to have a whole separate agenda besides selling your property that you're going to have to worry about. And that specifically is for anybody that is selling a house and purchasing another one. All right? Because you're going to have to deal with this particular situation twice, as far as all the changes and what has happened since this pandemic has taken off. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, again, I'm not saying that it's not possible at all. I'm not saying that it's not possible at all. It's just the fact that you're going to have to stay sharp, and obviously your agent will guide you, but you're going to have to stay sharp, to stay a couple of steps ahead. Especially if you are a seller who needs to sell and needs the proceeds in order to purchase the new home. All right, and the reason why I say that is because when deals in this particular time, when deals are being put together, it's already hard enough where there's just a one-way transaction. And what I mean by that is one buyer, one seller, and there's nothing else. Now, you have two-way transactions where you have buyer, seller, but the seller needs to sell their home to purchase their home in order for them to sell it to you. Does that make sense? So, deals can get really tangled if somebody needs to sell a property in order to use the proceeds in order to purchase the next property. All right, because now you're relying on, for example, if you're a seller and you're dealing with a buyer, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and they need to sell their home in order to purchase yours, then obviously you're dealing with you're an auxiliary component to a whole separate transaction. That if that deal dies, then your deal dies. Instead of you just working with the buyer one on one. So I want you to keep that in mind. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in depth a little bit more. But identifying what the plan, that's like number one, is so crucial because it can really jam you up if you're not prepared. If you're not prepared to move based off of whatever your particular goal is. I don't care if you're looking to, sell and move, down south or whatever the case. But you have to be prepared, and your agent will help you do that. Number two is handling showings have changed drastically. And honestly, it's probably going to be like that for a while, even after businesses start to open back up, schools start to open back up. There's definitely going to be a level of awareness where people are still not going to want to touch things, still not going to want to be in a crowded environment. Stadiums, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of people, may not open up right away, even after we've, flattened the curve and continue on a downward trajectory. And that's just the reality. This is the new reality. So handling showings, especially if you have a really good home, I don't care, if you're just selling your home to move into a better neighborhood or to upsize or whatever the case, whether you're that seller or whether you're an investor and you just flip the property. If you have that hot listing, the open house, that might not happen anymore. At least on a scale of everybody being able to walk through your house at one point. So you're really going to have to, one, either have your open house where one person can get in by themselves, or however many that you can still practice a good amount of social distancing. But there's no, that's not going to be the outcome anymore for a while. But that's okay, because when you're prepping your home for those buyers, whether you're staging, not staging, whether you're planning on making repairs or not making repairs before, and obviously these three things are outside of you doing your market data and whether you're going to make small investments to try to get that on, to increase the value and things like that. That's aside from that. I'm just talking about this particular pandemic and what you're going to have to do differently. So as you're prepping for these buyers and handling these showings, one, if the house is completely vacant, it makes it a lot easier. People can practice social distancing a lot easier. And at the same time, everyone can still pretty much be protected. But if you have a home where your stuff is still there and you're obviously still living there, then that's a different story. You may want to do a virtual tour. You may want to be able to definitely, for one, capture better pictures. Because some sellers just, I don't know that if they just don't care about how their house looks on the market, but as far as, picture wise and marketing, but definitely need better pictures. All right, you're gonna have to do things differently. So keep that in mind, especially when you're dealing with buyers, because a lot of buyers either don't want to come out, or obviously if you're having a lot of showing requests, a lot of people coming through your home may not be the best scenario at this time. So the other day I went to this home for my buyer, and she had me hand her my business card through the mail slot. Didn't want to touch it either, just had me push it through to drop it through the mail slot. And basically, I had to go in there with a hazmat suit. But that's how, and I totally respected it. Absolutely, no problem with that. But it's just the fact that people and you as a seller may not want everybody coming into your house for viewings during this time. No problem at all. You can do virtual showings. You can do, extremely spaced out showings. There's definitely some options. So you'll be good on that. So you don't have to worry about that. The third thing, most and probably the most important thing, is screening the buyer on a whole nother level. Like at this point, you have to really, really be selective on the buyer that you're choosing, because the reality is deals are falling apart because of lender changing, lending changing their criteria. Buyers, obviously, their employment and their income changes. And the worst thing that you would want to do at this point is get into a transaction with a buyer who will not be able to close. And more importantly, especially if they have their mortgage contingency in place as far as like their deposit, if they can't get a mortgage, they get that money back. The buyer gets their deposit back because it satisfied their mortgage contingency. Like they are protected by their mortgage contingency. So keep that in mind. But you're definitely going to have to screen your buyers a lot more effectively, because it is so crucial at this point, especially if you're already making moves while you're under contract of selling your home. So whether that's purchasing the next one, preparing the purchase for the next one, setting up your new address, this and that, and then all of a sudden the deal dies, it's not going to be the best scenario. So keep those three things in mind. One, have a solid plan, especially if you're selling to buy something else. If you're a flipper and you're an investor and you're getting ready to place your finished product on the market, understand. That's number one. Number two, prep for your buyers properly. Disinfect, please. All right. If you need to do virtual tours, videos, whatever the case, again, your agent the right agent will be able to come up with all these ideas. But these, I'm just giving you these pointers, so that way when you are talking to your agent and they don't bring these things up, then you know they're full of shit. Because it's different times, and you're relying on them as a professional to be able to adapt to the times. And here we are with it. So that's number two, prepping for your buyers. And number three, making sure that choosing the right buyer becomes the number one priority. Double, triple, quadruple check with their lender, their resources. Pick the right one. It'll save you time and it'll save you money. So those three things as far as selling, when you're selling your home during this pandemic, keep these things in mind. You'll still be able to have a successful transaction. You just have to be able to stay a couple of steps ahead. You'll be completely fine and we'll be able to get it done. So, Austin Smith with Austin Smith Real Estate, signing off as usual.